You know what? I failed a few businesses in my life. Okay, multiple, right? And there's a few core lessons that I've learned from them. If I had known those lessons a long time ago, I probably wouldn't have failed. And so my hope is that in this X amount of minutes of this video, I can give you everything I learned that caused me to fail multiple times, caused me to lose tons of not only money, but also time. And hopefully you can learn from my mistakes so you don't make them yourself. And go out there and succeed a lot quicker and faster than I ever did. So let me pull up my whiteboard so I can kind of show you visually some of the mistakes I made, okay? And number one, which is giving up. Now, I don't mean giving up as in quitting entrepreneurship, but switching, right? Switching to a new object, switching to a new thing that may seem more appealing. This is something I did multiple times because I switched from drop shipping to video editing to SMMA to you name it. If you name a business model, I've probably tried it. Truly, I probably have, okay? And what happens is when we keep switching, there's multiple different ways you could look at this, right? If you want to look at it from a skill, right? Imagine if on the left-hand side you have skill, right? Like XP. Imagine, let's look at it as a game. Imagine this is XP. Okay, entrepreneurial XP is what this is on the left-hand side. So I'll have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever the case may be. And then under here, you may have time, right? So maybe it's in years. And so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Here's what happens, okay, is typically growth starts super slow. Or as a matter of fact, typically it kind of looks like this. You learn a lot really quickly, but then you kind of stagnate for a while. And then you kind of stagnate. And then you may slightly start going up. And at some point it really kicks off, okay? Here's the problem though, is people see a lot of rapid growth right here, but then they stay stagnant for a bit. Okay, now this is something called, you could even look it up, called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you learn a lot very quickly and you feel like you're the best, and then you get to the top of Mount Stupid and you fall down and you feel like you know nothing. Okay, and so that's kind of the analogy here. But essentially what happens is you learn a lot quickly because you dive into it and you're really motivated and you're really excited, and so you learn a lot right away, and so you get really pumped and you feel like you're doing amazing things, and there's an influx of knowledge coming in, so you feel like you're doing something because you just keep learning. And then after time goes on, you kind of feel like you don't know what you're doing. And the knowledge is, you feel like you've learned it all and you're kind of failing, you feel stuck, right? Which is where you start to stagnate. This is where I went completely wrong. Okay, multiple times. Because what happens is in this phase right here, we go, oh shoot, I must be doing something wrong. Let me switch. Let me try a new business model. Let me try dropshipping. Let me try SMMA. Let me try short form content. Let me try web design. Let me try something else. Here's the problem. Is let's say you are right here. Now there's two problems. Okay? There's two problems with this. Is number one, look at what was about to happen. Now granted, do you know this? No, of course not. But you have to know that the longer you stick with something, the likelihood that you will succeed is higher. Let's, for example, look up the S&P 500. Give you a real life example. On a day-to-day basis, this doesn't look very good. As a matter of fact, it's down today, right? On a 5-day basis, it looks terrible. On a 1-month basis, okay, now it's starting to pan out, but let's turn it to max. Look what happens at the max. Despite the fact that there's little ups and downs here and there, right? Over a long enough time frame, everything pans out. Truly, everything pans out on a long enough time frame. And this is actually how Alex Mosley makes a lot of his decisions, right? His decision-making process comes from, will this affect me in 10,000 years? If the answer is no, then why am I worrying about it, right? And so we can see that over time, everything pans out regardless of what may happen on a day-to-day basis. Quite literally. Stock market is down today. If you expand your time horizon, does not matter. So let's go back to this. You have to understand the longer we commit to something, so long as we truly commit, the likelihood of us succeeding will increase with the time that we spend in it. Okay? Here's the problem, is we feel bummed out, and we feel burnt out, and we feel like, man, I'll tell you this, I felt like, man, I'm doing something wrong. Everyone else is succeeding, but I'm not. But I just heard of this guy who made $100K in a day drop shipping. Let me try drop shipping. But guess what happens? And guess what happened to me? Is when you try something new, right? Let's say if you start a new game, for example, right? We're talking about video games. If you start a new game, what happens? Do you start at level 100? No. Where do you start? Level 0. And that's exactly what happened to me. is you come right back to zero, right here, and you start all over again. And guess what? The same thing happens. Same thing. You learn a lot, you feel good, and then you kind of stagnate. As a matter of fact, you might even go down. And then slowly it picks up again. And here's the catch, is this happens all the time with everything. There will never be a business in which you just go like this. There's always going to be difficult and tough times. It's something I learn and repeat to myself constantly day in and day out, is no matter what you do, everything has pros and cons. Everything has problems associated with it. Oh yeah, I'll just get rich and life will be great. No. There's problems that come with being rich, right? If you haven't made money, you'll be like, oh, Stefan, screw you. Trust me, I'm by no means Elon Musk, right? But there's problems that come with everything. People think, oh, dropshipping's so good. No, there's problems that come with that. Right? SMMA is so good. No, there's problems that come with that. Oh, what about making a course? No, there's problems that come with that. Or what about consulting? No, dude, there's problems with everything. And the quicker I wish I could have understood this, the faster I would have succeeded. Because I just thought that, oh, if this guy saw success, there must be no problems in that business model. Let me try it. False belief. Okay, I can assure you and I promise you, truly, that no matter what you do, there will be problems associated with that. The reason why we don't think that is because we just see the wins of other people, right? People only talk about the good things that happen. Oh, SMA is so good. Yeah, but why don't we talk about the bad? Because there's plenty of bad. But so is it in every other business as well. Okay? Anyways, so core concept number 1 is that when you try something new, when you feel that you're at this part, which will happen, I can promise you this will happen, just know the number 1, if you extend your time horizon, everything will be okay. Number 2, if you start again, if you try something new, 1, that decision is usually made off an emotional decision because you saw somebody else do well in it, therefore you think you could do well, as I thought too. And number 2 is you start back from zero. And so what happens is people keep trying this again and again and again, and they keep starting right back from zero every single time, back to zero, back to zero, back to zero every single time. And so you keep restarting. And what do we know about keep restarting? Well, you never get to where you want to go. You'll never get here if you keep restarting and keep restarting and keep restarting. And you feel like, oh, I made a bit of progress, and then you stagnate. Bit of progress, then you stagnate, and then you restart, right? And the cycle repeats itself, so on and so on. The second core problem that I realized was wrong with this is that, look at this. Look at the time horizon. Alex Hormozi, on a podcast that I was watching, said if you haven't been in something for 5 years, you have no right to make a decision on whether it's good or not. Now, he said, granted, within those couple of years, you'll get a sense of if it's working, yes or no. But he said until you've been in it for at least 5 years, you really have no idea if that decision that you're making is good, because you just haven't been in it long enough for it to pan out. You can go back to the S&P. I don't know what it's looked like in the past 5 years, right? But let's say you're 1 year in. Actually, I guess this is a good example because it's very good. Okay, 6 months even. Everything's good, right? 5 years in, everything's good, right? Over a long enough time horizon, everything pans out. Let's say if you're 5 days in, 5 months in, 5 years in, right? Whatever the analogy is. Let's say this is 5 months in, okay? Or you can say 5 days. Stuff doesn't look very good. And so you may be very hesitant about what you're doing. And so you may want to quit. The problem is you just haven't seen it long enough. You haven't seen it out for the next 5 years. What happens over 5 years? Tons of ups and downs. Maybe a huge down. But granted that if you continue to stay with it, it will pan out. And so one of the biggest issues is that you think, right, or we think, I say you, I think, right, that we get to a place like this, right, like let's say this is us walking on this line, right, and we get to like here and we're like, man, maybe it's been 6 months. We're like, man, we haven't made any progress. But then right here is the moment that changed it all. Right here is the moment that changes everything. You unlock a new thing, you meet a new friend, you sign a new client, and boom, it takes off. But if you give up right here because it's tough and go back to square one, right, this would have never happened. Would have never happened. Let me give you one more kind of realization I had. It's this. Let's say this is you, right? We'll say this is a mountain, right? And this is me at the bottom of the mountain. Oftentimes, me, I get very sad here, very lonely, and very hopeless. I'm not sure if I can make it out of this slump, and I'm not sure if I can get to the top of this mountain, right? And I'm even thinking, how am I going to get to the top of this mountain, right? I just wish that I could jump up here, right? I just wish I could jump up there. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. However, what I've learned now, reflecting back on my failures, is that what you learn here, okay, what you learn here is what you need in order to get up here. What you learn here is what you need in order to get up here. Let me give you a real life example. Let's say if you are quite literally climbing a mountain. This is you going to climb a mountain. When you're at the bottom of the mountain, the guide or the person you are with, what will they do? They will teach you what you need to know in order to climb the mountain. But you had to be at the bottom to learn that in the first place. The problem is nobody wants to be at the bottom. We just want to be at the top. But you need to be at the bottom because what you learn at the bottom is exactly what you need in order to get to the top. And so I always was like, man, I'm in this tough place. I want to get out, right? But the problem is when you're in this tough place, that's when you're learning the things you need in order to get to where you want to go. And that belief shifting in my head completely, forever, changed the game for me. Because now when I'm in a slump or when I'm in a tough time, or right, when things seem difficult, I know that I'm learning the thing I need to learn in order to get to where I need to go. Because if it wasn't tough, then I should be where I am, right? If it wasn't difficult, then you should already be here. The reason it's difficult is because you're learning something you do not know, and the thing you are learning is exactly what you need in order to get here. And if I had known that way back when I started all my old companies, I guarantee those companies would be doing more than any of my companies now. Because I would have stuck with it, and I would have understood that these lessons will get me here. Now, granted, of course I learn lessons, right? If I go back to this board, of course I learn lessons from going back, of course. But if you had stuck with it, you would see way more success, right? When you stick with something for a long enough time frame, you will always see more success than if you would quit. 99% of the time. Granted, there's times to quit, to drop it for something else. That's a totally different subject, right? We're talking about just this sort of concept here. And that is one of the most profound lessons that I learned, that when I look back on my life and trying a bunch of different things, really held me back from being where I wanted to be. And so I kind of hope that this concept, right, can help you visualize and understand why things may be difficult, and that it's okay. Because they're supposed to be. Right? They're supposed to be difficult. Because growth happens outside the comfort zone. So if you're uncomfortable, it's because you're growing. And I don't think you want to be exactly where you want to be now. If you did, you probably wouldn't be watching this YouTube video. You are probably somebody who wants to learn. Therefore, growth is exactly what we need. And so we should embrace pain, embrace discomfort, because it means we're growing. The same way when a muscle hurts, it's good. What does it mean? It means it's growing. And so we want our muscles to hurt because we know they're growing. The same way that when we get in difficult situations, instead of trying to run from it, we should embrace it, because that's what we wanted, right? We want to grow. And so just changing that, mindset, that perspective on pain and difficult times is something I wish I'd learned a long time ago, because it would have saved me a ton. Unfortunately, you live and you learn, and we reflect back on life. And I just hope that you aren't as stupid as me and can learn from my mistakes instead of learning from your own. Okay? With that being said, younger Stefan, wish you'd seen this earlier. And for you watching this, man, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, comment down below. I respond to every single comment ever. I will reply to you. Ask me anything. Okay? Have a great rest of your day. And if you like this type of content, let me know, because I'll be more than happy to share more of my failures, as I feel like that's something not a lot of people do, is they share all these good things. Oh, how I made 100K, but no one shares how they failed. And I feel like learning, right, you can't learn much from success, but you can learn a lot from failures. And so I feel like sharing failures is a very important thing. And if you like it, do let me know, because I can make more of these. Have a great day. Peace.